A very good evening to one and all. I, Akshita Sachdev, along with my co-host for the evening, Mr. Ritwij Bagaria, would like to welcome you all warmly on behalf of the Great Lakes team and faculty to today's entrepreneurship panel discussion as a part of Sapiens 2021. In words of Peter Drucker, entrepreneurship is neither a science nor an art. It is a practice. Well, truly, it is a practice that makes an entrepreneur stand out in terms of innovation and leadership. A practice that not only creates opportunities for others, but also serves the society at large. In today's world, entrepreneurship has taken a new phase. We see entrepreneurs not only as risk takers, but as leaders, ones that hold the power to make change.
Sapiens is the annual management conclave of Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon, and the theme for Sapiens 2021 is purpose-driven business in the post-pandemic world. I would like to start with a quote by James Rouse that says, "The sole purpose of business is not making profit. The actual purpose of the business is to provide a product or a service that the people need and do it well enough to make it profitable." In the recent years, it has been widely observed that the companies are proving to be more profitable when they're focusing more on the purpose than the profits. To sum it up in short, I would like to say that the role of purpose in doing business is the same as the role of oxygen for a COVID patient, that is, to survive. Now I would like to invite Dr. VP Singh for the welcome address. Dr. Singh is the Director of PGDM and the Professor of Economics at Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ritwij and Akshita. I'm sorry, the video is, I cannot start the video. Probably there is some problem, and it doesn't matter. But I'm really very happy with the kind of opening statements that Ritwij and Akshita has given. This is indeed Sapiens, where we say it is the confluence of thoughts, and we want to actually come up with such thought process that definitely helps the business, especially in this post-pandemic era, post-pandemic period. The economy we see is reviving. Today itself, we have seen that the growth is 8.4%. And believe me, it must not have been easy for the economy to revive after such a wreckage that this virus has given to the industry. It required a lot of resilience. It required a lot of patience. It required a lot of innovation in order to find the new solutions and give them a shape of business. Sometimes I feel that this nation is so big, so vast, such high population, and there are so many problems. If there are so many problems, that means people are looking for so many solutions. And for so many years, if we've not been growing so much, and enterprise has definitely not been so encouraging in the country, largely because of the closed economy for several years. But now, when new enterprise is coming and showing the courage and supported ably by the financial flows, we see so many unicorns coming up. And yet, there are so many opportunities to be exploited. So given the vast nation, given the huge population, given the budding ideas, I believe that entrepreneurship is going to see a new shape, a new image, and a new creation of India as something which is providing solutions to the world. Years of very high inflation has brought a lot of incompetence in our exports. But the new transformation which information technology is bringing, this is going to bypass a large number of stages which economic development has seen, and where our incompetence lied. All that inflation, high costs have been embedded into that infrastructure. With information technology giving new ways, it is just like creating a new medium, just like roads, airways, and railways had created in past. And this is our big chance where we can bypass the incompetences which are built into our infrastructure, but new ways, new innovations, and new enterprising spirit of these young people will definitely create a lot of good value for the country. We already see that there is a very high increase in exports month to month in this year. We have never seen such exports in our country, such rise in exports. This is talking about the entrepreneurship that India is unleashing for the world. There was a time when, through the manufacturing prowess, China was able to ease out inflation for the world. Are we looking at a period where India can bring respite to the growing global inflation through its new ideas, through the information technology interventions? A lot of things come to my mind. A lot of things definitely come to the mind of all the audience and the speakers. I'm so very happy to welcome our distinguished guests, Ms. Shraddha Singh. We have Mr. Kanwar, Mr. Udayan, and I'm sure there will be a lot of fresh ideas for our students to explore and other audience to listen to. And this confluence of thoughts today on entrepreneurship will create a new energy towards a dominant India. With these words, I would like to hand over the responsibility to Professor S.K. Palhan for being the moderator of this panel. And sir, over to you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. V.P. Singh. I think over to the Akshata and Rutvij to start the program.
Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Debashish Sanyal, our director, to kindly oblige us with a few words.
Thank you so much. But I will not take much of a time because we have got some fantastic panelists lined up for today's evening. But I will join Dr. V.P. Singh and all my colleagues and my students on behalf of the Institute, Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon, and on personal behalf. It's really a great day for us, and it's my pleasure to welcome one and all, and especially to the panelists who in the late evening over here or early morning in the US is there with their fresh knowledge to help us to acquire more knowledge and to go forward. I once again thank everyone and Professor Kirti to taking the trouble of organizing this splendid event over the years. Thank you, everyone. Kirti, you are doing a fantastic job, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Now, we'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Ms. Shraddha Singh. Ms. Shraddha Singh has done her MBA from University Business School, Chandigarh, after which she has worked with companies such as Make a Difference, Bombardier, and Eicher Motors. In the year 2019, she co-founded Khadi Essentials and consecutively Pure and Safe and the Ayurveda Co. in next 2 years. Her entrepreneurship journey began after her own experience with skin ailments and with a motive to bring change by introducing fusion of Ayurvedic ingredients with modern science. She's a highly curious person and a perfectionist in all the endeavors she takes up. We welcome you, ma'am.
It is
Thank
my
you for
pleasure
having us.
to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Udayan Bose. Mr. Udayan has done his post-graduation from NMIMS Mumbai and is a chemical engineer from IIT Delhi. His journey in the digital media industry started at iGlobal Media, which is renamed as Party Gaming. That's the world's largest online gaming company. He built a new business unit from scratch for Party Gaming. Mr. Bose founded Net Elixir in January 2004 to help online marketers acquire customers profitably through efficient search engine marketing. In the year 2008, they expanded their product offerings to online marketing strategy consulting, shopping engine management, search engine optimization, social media marketing, and web analytics consulting. Since 2005, they have had the opportunity to partner with over 500 e-commerce businesses worldwide. In November 2011, they launched LXR Marketplace. That's the world's first online marketing web apps marketplace for small retailers. We welcome you, sir.
I would like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Kuvar Vijay Parmar. He founded the India's first farm tourism startup, Bani Khera Farms. It is a community-based tourism project with aim to offer authentic farm life experience to travelers and promote local culture and heritage in village Samar Gopalpur in Rohtak, Haryana. It's been awarded Best Tourism Project Award by Haryana State Government and other bodies. Mr. Kuvar is the founder and innovator of world's first startup game, both offline and online for entrepreneurship. His startup, Skilliot, is one of the only startup working with Ministry of Education Innovation Cell on India's biggest school innovation ambassador training program to train 50,000 CBSE teachers across India. It is a joint project of Ministry of Education, CBSE, Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell, and Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Mr. Kuvar Vijay Parmar is also nominated as Innovative Ambassador by Ministry of Education's Institute Innovation Council and is also innovator of Innovative Stick for Blind People. Designed and distributed 100 blind sticks on his own. A volunteer project done for Indian Blind Association, Delhi. Welcome, sir.
Now, I would like to introduce the moderator for this discussion, Professor S.K. Palan. Professor Palan is the founder director of Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. Currently, he is a professor emeritus at Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon, an advisor to St. George's, the Center for Joint Warfare Studies of the Ministry of Defense, trustee for Indus Quality Foundation, where he has worked on the rural development in Uttarakhand, and is the president for Media Community Foundation. He also leads the Karma Yoga project at Gurgaon campus. Karma Yoga primarily focuses on the joy of giving, and the work under the same has received international accreditation as we secured runners-up position at AMBA International Competition for Social Entrepreneurship. Professor Palan is an electrical engineering graduate from IIT Kharagpur. He has done his MBA from FMS Delhi University and has undergone an advanced training in industrial management in the Netherlands. I welcome you, sir. And now the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Rutvich. First of all, I am very happy that we have got a highly diversified panel for discussion today. If you look at entrepreneurship, the quality of life in a society depends on the product and services available. And that is precisely where the entrepreneurs come into picture. Today, the environment in India is highly conducive for the growth of the entrepreneurship. There are many schemes, and there is a talk about introducing the concept of internship in the schools and colleges also. So that means the environment is right now for spreading up in a very big way. I hope that the aspiration will not be purely seeking a job. We want to have more entrepreneurs in the countries to come up. And that's why all the students which are studying in the Great Lakes, we want them to expose to the experience of the people who are entrepreneurs in their own rights. They have faced many problems. We like them to all the entrepreneurs to share their journey, how they went about, how they developed all the things. And especially in the COVID, what problems they have been able to solve, but everything is not solved so far. We'll also know from you what are the issues which are still unsolved. Because primarily the entrepreneurs are looking for problems. What problems are still on, which need to be tackled up? I think the way we will conduct this particular discussion is, we'll invite all the panelists to share their wisdom, maybe for approximately about 15 minutes each, then followed by the question answers from the students, so that they learn from all of you. I think over to MC, we can invite the first panelist.
I would like to welcome Ms. Sheila Singh to kindly introduce herself.
Ladies first. That's the rule, yeah.
So I've usually been part of tables where there are very few ladies, but all game to go first. So I think Akshita gave a very sweet introduction, and I know you took it from my LinkedIn. So thank you for that. As you've already mentioned, I started my career with Volvo Eicher, and later on I went ahead and joined a company called Bombardier Transportation. During my, although I started working since the age of 16, so did some part-time jobs, started my career as a receptionist with 5,000 rupees salary monthly, but then slowly quickly got promoted into something which was slightly more revered within the company. So by the time I started my official career, I realized that I was already 6-7 years ahead and more mature than other counterparts, and probably because had faced so many challenges early on, there were things that started seeming easier. During my 5-year stint in the corporates based out of Gurgaon, I happened to be in roles that were transnational in nature and was bestowed out with very good and strict mentors, and some of which I still be in touch. They're still lifelong coaches for me. As far as my personal background is concerned, so my father was in the army, never stayed in a place for more than 2 years, toured all across India. And diversity, adaptability, flexibility is something that runs in my DNA. I never studied, or I never did an MBA to be an entrepreneur. Let me be very honest. I'm an incidental entrepreneur. I wanted to join the Indian Army. I was All India rank 4. I cleared the SSP. I'm a professional shooter also. I do rifle shooting, 50 meters. But my family wanted me to be the guinea pig and go join the corporate, because right from my great grandfather, everybody was in the army, starting from British Army until Indian Army. So I decided to give it a try and did my MBA from University Business School, Punjab University campus. Got placed with Volvo Eicher, and that's when the journey in the corporate realm started. After that, ever since I moved to Gurgaon, there was a skin condition that I contracted. And in Volvo, I met my life partner, my now life partner, Param, who's the co-founder of all the ventures that we've been doing together, all the brands that we've been doing together. And we come from very different thought processes and families in general. Back when I was a kid, we had very abundant access to medicines because military hospitals used to be in 1.5-2 kilometers radius, and we had free access to medicines. They say that when you have access to something in abundance, you sometimes start repelling it. And we were grown up as kids. We were grown up with the mindset that too many medicines will eventually lead to some side effects. So we were always brought up like that. Ghar ke nuskhe and desi jugaad would be are the first resort. So that we got conditioned that way. And when I contracted the skin condition, which was more of an allergy, it started troubling day in, day out. And I suffered it for 2-3 years straight. So after trying English medicines for about 3 years or so, when Param and I got married in 2017, we started traveling to look for natural solutions. And in the last quarter of 2017, we happened to be in Kerala. And fortunately, we've met one Ayurveda practitioner. She advised us a few tips and tricks and gave us certain medicines. And 3 months, the problem was majorly gone. 6 months, it was cured from root. So back in 2017, the D2C business, the direct to consumer business, wasn't this big a rage that it is now. You see so many brands coming up day in, day out. The overall content consumption in the past 1.5-2 years, especially after COVID came in, has risen. And so is the number of players that have come up in the market. So we started our research in 2017, and it was in 2019, last quarter, early 2020, when we launched our first brand, Khadi Essentials, with an inaugural portfolio of about 40 products, ranging from head to toe personal care SKU products. And because of COVID, it was natural that people migrated to offline. Was impacted definitely, but we were a digital first brand, and we were selling all across platforms like Myntra, Nykaa, Amazon, Flipkart, and other marketplaces, along with our own digital website, e-commerce website. And the foundation that we had laid in terms of our research, in terms of availability, in terms of our pricing, packaging, everything put together, product quality, that started showing results when people had a natural transition to e-commerce in general, especially after COVID hit. And I think, yeah, since then, there's no looking back. We are on a spree to launch new brands. We launched a hygiene and sanitization brand called Pure and Safe. Then we have launched a new brand this year, which is called the Ayurveda Company, which we are very aspirational and ambitious about.
Very good, Sridhi. We are very happy. You have converted a problem into an opportunity. That's precisely is the essence of entrepreneurship. And you have actually given a beautiful example. How you personally face a problem, overcome it, and convert it into an opportunity not only for yourself, but for others also. I'm very happy. And that too, you made a combination of the typical old Ayurveda along with the modern technology. That's a great combination.
Yeah.
And we are very happy.
Yeah. So we did realize that Ayurveda traditionally had a very grandfatherly image, and we believe in hearing it from the horse's mouth. So there is a very snug customer connect that we have, and there is a very strong customer pool that we eat their heads in terms of giving us feedback on the product quality, on understanding what they like, what they don't like, whether the product is usable, not usable. We understood that when it comes to skin, hair, topical issues, people do not go to their grandmoms or grandfathers. People would rather listen to somebody who's their age facing similar issues. So we realized that if I keep telling people that, see, this is 5,000-year old science, and let me try to do it the old way, people might respect it for the testament of time, because it has withstood the testament of time, but it also needs to be relevant for today. So while we take inspiration from, I think 5,000 years back, nobody cared if they were exposed to UVA, UVB rays. They didn't want a sunscreen. They didn't have an issue whether they were using a waterless cream or a oil-based cream. So modern problems require modern solutions. And while the roots are old, the product has to be, or be it not just the product, what is there in the bottle, but in general, any solution has to be relevant for the time that it is in. Otherwise, if you try to solve a problem which existed in past or which might come up in future, scalability might be impacted.
Shida, we'll come to the second part, when we like to discuss, you have solved some problems, but still, in this area in which you're operating, there'll be many more problems which are yet to be solved. That's where the budding entrepreneurs have to come into the picture. We'll talk about that. Thank you very much. In the meantime, let's go to the next speaker.
Yeah. I would now like to request Mr. Udayan Bose to please come and introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Akshita. First of all, Sridhar, I must say I'm absolutely blown away with your story. So it's a real privilege to be on the same panel along with you. So absolutely a privilege, and good luck and best wishes. I can almost sense that excitement. Before I even start off, a couple of disclaimers. The first thing is I need to update my LinkedIn profile. I think the last time I had changed it was 2007 or 2008. So I felt a little embarrassed. A lot really has gone since then. First and foremost, I really wanted to thank the entire faculty, Professor Palhan, Professor Sanyal, Professor Singh, Shalja, I think was the one who contacted me, I think everyone for this opportunity. It's absolutely a privilege and an honor, and something that I could just simply not let pass away, because I have known Professor Bala from long time back. So there is a concept called RIN. So this is essentially for or in memory of Professor Bala. I didn't know about Professor Ranand. So I must say I'm a little emotional on that part. So from hearing the news, but I think he was a great man, and I hope I'm able to add value to this entire panel discussion. My entrepreneurship journey started accidentally, very accidentally in 2004. And the reason I'm saying accidentally is in my family, I think we are a classic middle class Bengali family. And everyone in my family either is a professor or a scientist or a teacher. So from there, I'm actually the first in the entire family to someone who has taken up entrepreneurship. So I definitely cannot claim that it was done in a very mindful manner. So prior to starting the company, that was in 2004, actually 26th of Jan. And there is an interesting story which I have to share about 26th of Jan, Professor Palhan as well. We started that primarily because in Bengalis, we have, or actually everywhere, we have Saraswati Puja, right? Which is the goddess Saraswati, right? It was the Saraswati Puja day. And we said that even if I'm starting the business, I have to really stay true to my family core of education. So that's where I think the connect was there as well. So I got in. Prior to that, I was lucky enough to join a couple of my IIT colleagues in this company called Party Gaming. It was called iGlobal Media. Rutvij, you sort of mentioned that, right? I was sort of in a different world when you sort of mentioned about it. Have not really heard of that name for a long time. So we all three went to the school, and they started the company. I joined them for a couple of years there and started the bingo business. It was in the area of online gaming. We did extremely well. It actually became the world's largest online gaming company in 2005. It had a valuation which was equivalent to Google and British Airways combined, Professor Palhan, in 2005. It was actually the biggest ever success story created by two IIT Delhi folks. But anyway, bragging apart, I think sort of got into a lot more education-related line, Professor Sanyal. Again, just had to get back to search, a lot of mathematics, analytics, and so on. And the specific reason why we started the company as a search marketing firm, and this was in 2004, where there was no search marketing in India. There was nothing, essentially. At that point in time, I had identified an opportunity of this new company, which was called Google. Google was very new at that time. And I had at Party Gaming, we were actually one of the largest advertisers worldwide on Google. And we identified an opportunity that maybe advertising is moving from throwing mud at the wall and hoping something sticks to more mathematical, analytical basis. And since at Party Gaming, we were sort of doing a lot of advertising, everything, we felt that there is a possibility of us to really control the entire world or an outcome that we get from the digital marketing campaigns or search marketing campaigns. And that was exciting. So suddenly there was a problem worth solving. That advertising from just hoping, I know 50% of my advertising works, I don't know which 50%. Suddenly here you are in a situation where you can actually control the outcome. That was exciting because I have been always fascinated with mathematics and technology. So I think that's where sort of got in and solved the problem. That was, I think, the first part. The second thing is, I have a tremendous faith in the analytical prowess and the mathematical prowess of Indians, just being very direct, right? So there is a different way of thinking. And a simple example, as some of you may have read, now all the leading companies have someone who probably has studied in India, like the recent one is the Parag Agarwal of Twitter sort of got in. I think there is a certain mathematical basis which I believe is becoming more and more important in today's world and will be even more important in tomorrow's world. Whether you take Satya, whether you take Parag, whether you take Sundar, all of them have a certain mathematical sort of a base, which I think is becoming important. So we really banked or put our faith on the mathematical and analytical prowess of the folks and started the company to solve a very simple, but apparently at that point in time, a complex problem, that can we make search marketing predictable for businesses? The predictability part was huge. It's almost like if you are investing X dollars, can you really get Y dollar in return? And can we really use mathematics to complete the entire flow from the time someone clicks on an ad, goes to the website, maybe doesn't buy anything, comes back tomorrow and buys something? And can we really convert that? And as a result of which, can we predictably assure a certain return on investment, or ROI, essentially, for every investment or investment? So that was essentially the problem that we tried to solve, and we were pretty successful. I mean, we have since then, I think, sort of grown quite substantially. I mean, we are currently one of the top 10 independent agencies for both Google and Microsoft in North America. So we have been very lucky enough to really grow to that level. And the entire thing started with that simple concept, Professor Palan. So let me pause there, because as an entrepreneur, I think one of the big weaknesses I have, I can keep speaking on this line for days, and I don't want to take up and bore all of you beyond this.
Okay, Udayan, thank you very much for your introduction with how your journey, a little bit of it. We'd like to hear more about it in a short play. Let me share with you, Great Lakes actually went in a very big way on business analytics. In fact, we introduced a large number of courses, and I think one of the most popular courses today in our institute is the business analytics. And there are a large number of things like machine learning, and so many topics have come. And so that's where Great Lakes is basically looking forward to all the modern technology also. And we are really very happy that you make IIT and India proud. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go over to the third speaker in the meantime. But now, second time, what we'll do is, in the second round, we like to learn from you what problems are still on, what are the challenges where we can go ahead. That's where the learning will take place for the budding entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Now, I would like to call upon our next panelist, Mr. Kuvar Vijay Parmar, to please come and introduce himself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Palan, and everyone to invite and give this opportunity. In one line, I can say about me, I'm hardcore a social entrepreneur. That's what I do. That's what I'm into from last quite a time. Before I actually jumped into entrepreneurship, before I heard this word entrepreneurship, and that's how I've been shaped through my grooming, especially my mother and the way she groomed me and all other atmospheres around me. So as far as I remember, I tried four ideas, 4 problems. Now I am under the mentorship of Palan sir from last 3-4 years and other mentors. Now we are understanding how to break and define your journey and how to come with a problem and define a problem and solve. But when I started, I had no such idea that am I solving a problem or am I going behind a problem and then looking for a solution. It was more like a passionate person, a youngster who's looking 100,000 of problems around, especially in the social strata, and try to jump from 1 to 2 and see some solution. But most of the time you fail very fast because solving social problem is more challenging than solving a business problem. I may be right or wrong in that. So the first startup which I did very seriously after leaving my job was starting India's first farm tourism. And somewhere I had this craziness of starting something which nobody has done before. So I always start something which is first. That's how I come to the world's first startup game also. So this farm tourism concept came me from a very hardcore part of Haryana, which defines Haryana, which is Rohtak, and the language that comes from that part. The Haryanvi language comes from Rohtak and Jind area. The rest of the part, they have very different language. Some part is Rajasthan and then touching Delhi. So I found, being also a hobbyist as a traveler and all, that million of passengers, travelers pass from Haryana, either landing in Gurgaon or traveling from national highways, both sides, to Jaipur or to Manali. But nobody ever stops, nobody talks. You will find no write-up about tourism for Haryana. You will never think, even dream about coming to Haryana. That was a kind of a personal pain for me, that why it is so. And then I started dwelling about it, and I found the reasons. Obviously, we don't have much to offer in terms of history or forts or anything natural, but we have something else which I think nobody was able to see. We being from agrarian, setup, and we are famous for that, doodh dahi ka khana, and we have very, very rustic life. And I thought, why not to offer that? And I studied that around the world, what's happening, what kind of such geographical, states, districts, or countries are doing. They must be doing some tourism, and that's where I found farm tourism. Already was it working in US and part of Europe and all. And I took a plunge, and it was challenging, hell of challenging. I had no idea of marketing and selling. I think the worst product in travel was selling Haryana. In a nutshell, I went to 1,000 travel agents in Delhi. You won't believe, not a single travel agent gave me any business. Rather, they just told me, go back, do something else. This is never going to work. I'll come to that story later, what happened after that. And during this journey, whatever I have learned for the first 3-4 years, and I could see the youngsters around me, in my village, everywhere in India, abroad, that they have so many ideas. There are so many people like me who want to solve problem, business or social, but very soon they lose hope. Maybe they get out of passion, they drain out because of they're not able to find the right fit in the market, or they don't have skill, and so many things. They don't know how to do a lot of things which are part of becoming successful entrepreneur. That's where I thought, why not to share my journey to the world, especially to the youngsters who are in school and college, because I believe that it has to nurture from very young age. Entrepreneurship is not teaching maths or science or artificial intelligence that you can put someone for a 1-year course or you can teach them. It's not like that. It's a progress you have to take from very early. That's where we thought of building a very engaging and non-boring non-classroom based program, and thought of gamifying that entire process. And me from non-gaming background, otherwise also I never played any game, basically the board games. So, but somehow with God's grace and help of so many people around me, we are able to develop this world's first startup game, physically card-based game, which we have been successfully conducting. So in this second part, there were 2 problems I think I was trying to solve. One basic is anybody, why he should get into entrepreneurship, how to engage him, how to excite him. Once you engage him, how to keep him up and tell him the entire stage by stage logical journey through a gamified kind of very near to simulation, where he can himself do a lot of things and not to depend on somebody else to look forward to for those answers. So that was the second part of the journey, which is still going on. Both are going very well. And so that's all my introduction and the problems and the social entrepreneurship I have been doing till now. Thank you. Over to you, Palan, sir.
Thank you very much. Actually, Kumar is very modest. He has done great work in his own area. Well, I've seen him for the last 3.5, 4 years or so. And the test was, recently we had invited him to the institute to talk to the entrepreneurship club called the Prayas, where students had a first-hand introduction to the game. You remember at a younger age, we used to play a game called Monopoly or a trade. Now, this is a much better version of how it is teaching entrepreneurship in a very interesting way. He has not explained it. I like to tell you, because students enjoyed it very much. And we hope to introduce in the institute in a big way. Because many people think, developing one app is a entrepreneurship. They start with the product many times. But in problem solving, what are the steps involved in the entrepreneurship business right from the beginning. He has identified almost about 13 steps. And along with that, he also talks about what are the problems which are likely to come. So everything is not there's a bed of roses. Problems will come in entrepreneurship. And that's how the students learn how entrepreneurship really runs. Because formal programs on entrepreneurship run by the government are very boring. This is a very interesting way to learn entrepreneurship. And I'm all actually thankful to Kumar and his team who have done a wonderful job. I think let's come back to the second part of the session where we want to have input from that means, now it's this panel is very interesting in the sense, look at one person totally from the high-tech area of IT, one person from totally different area of let's say the beauty products or the health products and entrepreneurship. It's a very good combination, the panel we got today. Now I request Sridhar Singh to share, because entrepreneurs basically are highly sensitive to the environments and they're looking for problems. That's what they solve. That means what problems you have solved. Can you share some of the tough problems which you solved? What did you do? And secondly, what problems are still unsolved?
So
it's an impromptu question, but I'd like to have your inputs. That's where the learning will take place.
I think that's going to be a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. So instead of getting into transactional problem solving that we did this in this particular instance, let me take a step back and unveil the theory of problems, the problem of problems, because that might give you a perspective of how to look at problems as opposed to transactional issues where we had a specific situation and we overcame it. When you start, when you're working in a bigger setup, you are in general protected by a number of people. There are many levels. If a decision goes wrong, it is usually protected by multiple layers and the company doesn't stop. But when you start something of your own, every decision is a make or break decision. Hello, am I audible? Cool. So while it is very good to identify problems, and as an entrepreneur, you will encounter hundreds of problems to be solved every day. What I believe is that the paranoia of trying to solve every problem might overwhelm you, because as individuals, I believe entrepreneurial DNA is to take the baton and try to solve everything that comes your way. But then you need to identify where you're investing your energy. And it is good to be paranoid about things. It is good to try to solve every problem. But then there are some problems that could wait. And there are some problems that are of imminence. So I think that is something where 80% of your time, like they say, spend 80% of your time in sharpening the saw and 20% in cutting the tree. So that is something which should take most time rather than actually and then solving the problem. I think the second thing will be over-analyzing. So I'm a big fan of drawing parallels between different cultures and the past and the present. And I think that also reflects in the business that we do, trying to unite the East with the West, modern and ancient, contemporary, etc., etc. So I did realize that there is one doha called Kal that says Kal kare so aaj kare so ab. Then so that is Hindi. Then in Punjabi, there's something that says, I think Amanpreet ma'am could support me there. It says if you think something for 100 times, it wouldn't happen on its own. And then in management, which is slightly more modern, there is a concept called analysis paralysis. So I'm a believer of taking the decisions and moving with agility, because one of the problems that I've seen in entrepreneurial setups is that, and why people could fail or decisions could go sour in times, is that we overanalyze, because you know that the after effects of your decisions, if gone wrong, could be bad. And we overanalyze the problem to such an extent that we lose out a lot of time, and we invest a lot of energy in trying to look for the best way out. Now let's assume you've spent 2 months in trying to find the perfect solution, and for some stupid reason it has still gone wrong. So now you have lost 2 months and you still are at square one. So what I believe is that you need to move forward. First of all, identify your problems, and then you need to take the action and you need to do it. If you do it fast, the best thing is that you can, if it goes wrong, you can quickly come back and correct it. If it is right, then the victory is yours. So problem solving for me is more of a method and a process than trying to solve everything that comes on the way. And as an entrepreneur, there are, and especially in the industry that we are at, there are a lot of transactional problems that keep on coming. So, you know, there could be supply chain issues, there could be marketing, scaling up issues, there could be people related issues, there could be fund related issues. But if the theory, if the entire premise of problem solving is right, then you can take few important things at a time, prioritize, and solve it, and solve all the problems at least that need to be solved immediately. And then I think what I've also made peace with it is that when I was working, I knew what I wanted to do after 5 years. Today, I don't know what I will be after 5 years. There are lofty goals for the organization, but if you ask me, I don't know. And I have made peace with the fact that that is not lack of planning, but I'm saving myself from the perils of over planning, because that is not how entrepreneurship is supposed to become and be. So yeah, but the underline and the undercurrent of all the problems that we try to solve is to remain relevant to people, not just today, but also 5-10 years from now. So if we are selling digitally, if we are selling products that solve drive inspiration from a certain science of life, and if it is solving a problem in terms of skincare, hair care, natural, authentic Ayurvedic products, will people still be interested in these kind of products and purchase it from a mode which is online 5 years from now, 10 years from now? If at a broad level the answer is yes, then continue with that.
Shida, thank you. I like your concept, especially the, you can't have a very long-term planning. You may have a vision, what you want to do, what mission, what you want to do it, but you have to solve problems which are in the priority immediate one. And also secondly, we need not go for perfection, because for perfection, you will go on waiting for all time to come. So the concept of minimum viable product, the product which meets the requirement, that's where you can test in the market and then go for a further development. I think that's precisely what you have done also.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what Kumar is also doing. If you wait for a product which is perfect, then I think by the time you start, I think the technology's life cycle would be over and you are nowhere. So that you have to have prioritization for solving problems, and that's very good. We'll come back to your issues again, once again, Shida, because the road has been opened up in a very big way for Ayurvedic product by Patanjali. That's the first company which broke all the barriers.
Yeah.
And now there's a social acceptance to a great extent. And the doors are open in a very big way. We look forward to what further areas you are looking into in the next round of discussion. Let's go to the next participant, next panelist to give the views on this aspect.
Sure, absolutely. I'll probably just directly dive in, Professor Palan. Very fascinating. Loving the conversation. So it's a difficult problem that you have asked me, Professor Palan, because as Shrida mentioned, I think there are so many problems. So I just was trying to sort of categorize into different parts, right? I'll just focus on the business And for us, I really wanted to also touch upon the second part about the cultural part as well, right? In terms of business, I think any entrepreneur, if you're not excited by the prospect of problems and solving the problems, then you should not be an entrepreneur. That I think I can't really be more direct than that, because it's all about solving problems and identifying problems. But I think the first, I'll probably go one step back, and I have seen that, can you really see the problem? I think that seeing and identifying the problem is becoming an extremely important part. And I think it's extremely important to really sort of categorize that also. I'll give you some examples here. Now, back in 2004, not too many people asked the simple question as to, can the entire world of marketing finally be made predictable, right? So that was the big problem, right? Now we are asking a problem, that entire thing has morphed. Now we have proven that concept really works and so on. Now that particular problem has really moved on to something extremely big, which I am pretty sure a lot of fairly large digital marketing firms around the world are trying to solve it. That is there a smarter or a more data-driven way to allocate your budgets to different channels, right? Again, the same concept that half of my marketing works, that we have really already tried to solve to an extent. But then the next part is, I'm sort of investing in Google, I'm investing in Facebook, I'm investing in Twitter, or whatever it is. Is there a smarter data-driven way to solve as to how much should I really invest in each channel? So that's the problem that essentially is driving us. It's called something like a media mix modeling and so on and so forth. So I think, again, a lot of mathematics and fascinating part and so on and so forth. But during the COVID also introduced a very interesting problem as well. We saw the consumer behavior changed quite dramatically, right? So in this part, we said that is it possible for us to technologically understand as to what is the virtual consumer behavior? So the entire evolution of the consumer behavior till about Feb 2020 was moving at a certain predictable pace. 2020 to actually tomorrow, we have our webinar sharing all the Cyber 5, as you know, the Cyber Monday, Black Friday that just got over. We are actually publishing or presenting to the press tomorrow. And there we have seen a dramatic change. As a result of which, just give you, probably you are the first one to know, Professor Palan, that effectively this time, this was actually one of the weakest Cyber 5 or Black Fridays ever in the history of online in the US, right? So what went wrong? Everyone sort of came with their guns blazing and so on. We can say the supply chain issues and all that stuff, but I think there's something went wrong. And fundamentally, it's my belief that the consumer behavior changed and no one was really able to predict it as well. So understanding the evolution of consumer behavior and predicting it is also a massive problem, right? And we are just trying to solve that. We have a platform, again, an AI-driven platform called Alexa Insight, through which we are sort of trying to. So I think these are the business problems. But then let me sort of go back to some of the parallel part, right? So when we started the company, I think Ritvich sort of mentioned about this thing. We started Alexa Marketplace to solve a problem, because a lot of the smaller solo entrepreneurs or small businesses, we wanted to help them, but understandably, you don't really start with massive budget. When I started, I didn't really have any budget, right? So we wanted to do something which really helps them, right? So I think the idea of helping them is an extremely important part. And we offered this Alexa Marketplace. AlexaMarketplace.com is the site, Professor Palan, where there are currently about 35 tools. All of this is free. You don't have to pay anything for us. Can you believe it that more than 1 million small businesses currently are using the tools? It has been 10 years now. We have not charged a single penny, right? Because it is solving a bigger problem, right? So I think it is driven by, we are solving a bigger problem. The small businesses hopefully are benefiting. They sort of give some rave reviews and sort of quote the. So that's another business problem as such. We also traded in a very small way, not as impressive or remotely as impressive as what you are doing, Kumar, but on a slightly different note, and a problem that we identified. This was actually in 2015 when me and my wife, who's the co-founder, Sulika, actually, interestingly, Shrida, she's from your college. She's from Punjab University and DCET, I mean, the chemical engineering. So we are both two chemical engineers starting a company anyway. So I think, so effectively we went into this government school in Hyderabad. It was an all-girls school. And I'm pretty sure some of you would know as to how bad the government schools are anywhere in India in terms of just the infrastructure. Like this school of 800 girls has one bathroom and they have 2 hours of running water in the entire day. Right. So we walked into the 10th grade class or 10th class, let us say, and spoke with the girls, and they couldn't understand English too much because they are all they understand Telugu is their native language or mother tongue. And we asked a simple question: how many of you think you can score 80% marks in your 10th class exam? right? The simple question, how many of you, and these girls all live in slums and their parents mostly are daily wage workers. They are many cases single parents and so on and so forth. And only 3 girls very shakily raised their hands, right? Then we said, and so this was a problem, obviously, right? If out of a class of 108, only 3 girls are raising the hand, that shows the level of confidence. That's the problem. So we took almost a spot decision and said that what if we sponsored 3 girls based on your 10th grade marks and sponsored your entire 11th and 12th high school and 4 or 5 years of college anywhere in India that you want to do. If you want to go to IIT, AIMS, whatever it is, that's thing. I will sort of support you, right? How many of you think you will be willing to study hard to get 80% marks? And 14 girls raised their hand. That itself is the first validation that people, they need something a little beyond hope, right? So they need a solution, something which is a lot more tangible, specific, right? And then with the results, when it came out, Professor Palan, you would not believe it. And I'm pretty someone who is as deep into the social entrepreneurship or social grassroots level. And this still gives me goosebumps. About 21 girls scored more than 80%, 9 girls scored more than, 6 girls scored more than 90%, right? So it was validated that all that these girls needed is someone to really provide them a solution, or not just a hope, saying big things, but doing something. So we selected 3 girls. Unknowingly, we had hit upon a problem that none of us anticipated. Unknowingly, right? And that problem was we saved 3 girls from child marriage. Every 7 minutes, and I repeat, every 7 minutes, 1 girl under the age of 14 is getting married away somewhere in the world. Every 7 minutes, right? And we didn't really we sort of went in to just solve and give them a hope, a solution. But effectively, we sort of were able to sort of bypass it. So again, a problem sort of overall solved. And then now we are very proud that the first batch of girls have now graduated from college, and they have, like, one has a job in Accenture, the second is Virtusa, and so on. They're extremely proud of that part. So I think as an entrepreneur, just getting to the point, I think there are always problems. You have to keep on asking the questions. And my recommendation is anyone who wants to have any ambition of entrepreneurship, you should always start your day asking this question as to, am I able to see? Am I able to see the problem? Am I asking the right questions, or am I asking any questions at all? And can I be a little more sensitive to the overall environment and the culture that we live in? And I sort of, again, a little cliched, but the biggest problem, Professor Palan, is we are getting insensitive enough not to ask these questions, right? Because kaun jabardasti problem solve karna chahta hai, right? So you have to have a certain knack, right? But I would strongly recommend, I see that there are almost about 200 people sort of joining this thing. Many of you students, if there is one thing that I would say is, do not be insensitive enough to not ask questions. You have been very lucky to get an education which 99% of the people in India are unable to get, right? Do not waste it. So I'll just stop there because I can really go on to a rant again. Professor Palan, back to you.
Thank you very much. Actually, what you have said, we try to do it in a little bit of way. In the Karma Yoga program, we don't say what you want to do. We say you should have an empathy. Try to understand what the problems are. Because many times, when people want to do Karma Yoga, they say, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. I said, don't start with that. You find out their pain points, what the issues are. So try to solve. Problems are many. Is there any one problem you can solve in an effective manner, which will make their life better, bring joy in their life, and taste the joy of giving? Now, I'm happy to share with you that the batches of the students which have gone through the Karma Yoga program, all of them realized with a little bit of effort, we can do a lot of things. That means, and many of them agreed, this is the first time they tasted the joy of giving with an empathy. So that learning is very important. I think you have raised a very important issue. The passion is very important. And unless you are able to identify, put yourself in the shoes of the people where it pinches, problems cannot be solved through the conventional method of doing, let's say, the questionnaires. What problem do you have? Now, many people, in our batch, in our students, they said, okay, sir, we will go and we'll ask people what are the problems. Manika, you forget. I think Kumar is here, he will agree with me. I said, if you go to a village and ask them, the problem kya hai? We'll say you get lost. We don't have any problem. So that way, the idea is you have to live with the people and try to find out what the problems are. That's what things are going on.
Very, very good point.
Yeah.
And I think, Kuban, what you are doing is exceptional. I actually connect you with my IIT friend who's from Rohtak as well. So I have deep ties to Rohtak. So I mean, if there is a way for him to help and contribute, so definitely.
Thank you. Very good. Let's go to Kumar now. Kumar, now I'd like you to share, when the COVID came, your game was based primarily offline. So how did you go about?
Sure, sir. I'll just take 1 minute because I'm so, got again back to the days I started from the stories Udyan and Shridha is telling. And I just want to share that more precisely to all the students and possibly the potential future entrepreneurs. The best part of this panel is because the people here are listening, they have that experience and nothing beat experience. So they are not coming with a bookish story to tell you. So every word they are telling you, please note it down. That's highly valuable. That's first thing. From you can learn a one-liner which we take part of our program, how to define things in a very clear way. Because as Udyan said, that we all entrepreneurs who are very passionate, we keep on, if you sit with Udyan for overnight, he can tell you everything he has gone through. But it's very hard when a listener like you, a student, to, take it down to understand. For both of them, from Shridha, it is your experience. So that's a very crucial for any entrepreneur. If you have gone through any pain or problem, that is one of the best bet you should start with, because you actually know what's happening. Most of the time when you're trying to solve somebody else's problem, most of the part you don't know. You just think you know it. But if you have gone through, like Shridha has gone through that pain, she understands what was the journey and what is the solution. Everything is there. And on Udyan, definitely it's a very, very different, vast canvas. But one thing he told, that when you going to solve one problem, there are multiple other problems, and you have to be very open to keep asking yourself and to the stakeholders those very crucial, hardcore questions. That's what's happening, what is the problem, find the root cause of it, and then decide what need to be solved. Coming back to my journey, yes, totally. I very hardcore believe that it has to be an offline game. Although from the day one when we met all other people in the journey, from top entrepreneurs to educationists, everyone was crazy and telling us, go make an online app, make an app. And I was very against it. Even the Ministry of Education said, we don't understand this, we need an app. And I took 6 months to convince them that app won't work, because the scenario, the situations you are going, like Udyan told, a school in remote area where they don't have basic infrastructure, forget about the app and technology and internet. And beyond that, it needs a physical interaction, a two people, a partnership, founder, co-founder, or otherwise in a school. It's a human interaction. It has to be done like that. Anyway, we started that. It picked up slowly, and the results were amazing. Especially the students and the teachers we trained, they loved it, that interaction through the gaming. But then COVID came and everything went on, totally upside down. And we were like in a shock for a few months, 2-3 months now. I don't know what to do, because me and my co-founder, we are not from technology background. And now we had a very hard time. We done few experiments with the vendors and all. We failed. We paid money, and finally we were able to make it through one of the IIT teams, which helped us. IIT Roorkee, from one of our another mentor, Vinay Nandia sir, he helped and introduced us, and that's also going amazing. And we found something which my team was totally neglecting. So I'm telling you, most of the time it happens, I think, with every entrepreneur. We are so passionate with one side that we ignore totally the other side. And I was totally ignoring. I did not knew the power of online. It brings so much power, which actually now made our entire package more powerful, which is an hybrid. Now, if I go to a school with an offline thing and give them somewhere online, I could have that data so much easy. I can analyze that data. I can share with the stakeholders, which I could never do. I was taking like a bundle of papers to the schools, asking them to write, and there were so many other problems. And then coming back, and then I don't know how to put up a report to the government and all. So one, never neglect anything. Second, as other panelists said, decide, prioritize what exactly you want to solve. So then we found that, yes, this is on us. Either we close this, because anyway, COVID is going to stay for a long time. It's already 2 years. So either we close the business or we get into it. And we somehow get into it, and we were able to make a very good online game. And it's going very well without any issues. And now, once this is now close to ending the COVID, now every university, college, they're asking us to come with a hybrid model. Come with your offline game, but take the entire data online. Now we are more powerful. So I think that's where I will end. The one part of the problem is solved. Now I'm in the another part of the problem in hybrid model, because that has its own implications. Going to places with an hybrid model, which has its own. So every time you will have one problem where you will be about to solve. In the process, you will have other problem. My last note is that believe every problem as a solution. So you have to be very positive. You can't be overconfident that, yes, I will see it, I will solve at the end. I think you need to find the best fit with a skill. That's the major failure issue I see in the most of the, including my earlier stages. You think of starting something, but you don't know if you can execute it, or do you have that actually the core skills to do it. And then you start doing it, you waste your time, money, and then you start, failing down. So with that note, I'll end. Over to you, Palan sir.
Oh, Kumar, I like to think, actually problems for you were actually blessings in disguise.
Sure, sir. It was.
Had you gone on only for the game, that means the offline game, I think you could have never dared to make a program for 50,000 teachers. It can't be just be managed. Scaling would have been impossible for you. But I'm happy, in spite of your reluctance to go online. I remember he took almost about 6 months to develop the game, and without having a technical knowledge himself, he relied on his friends and did it. So networking is very important for entrepreneurship also. You should know the right people who can help you out in the process. And I think the experiment of Kumar, they have come out very successfully. And actually, initially, when they made the representation with the Ministry of the HR, Ministry of Education, as well as the AICTE, it was done with a hard model,
Over there,
hard model game. And it was easy to convince them. But developing, had we stuck only to that one, I think you could have trained maybe 100, 200, 300, not more than that. Now, imagine, Kumar getting an assignment to train 50,000 school teachers. That's what I said right at the beginning. Today, the environment is, the government policies are highly pro-entrepreneurship. Loans are comparatively easier to get. The permissions are easy to get. Support is there. And there's a pride. Because the mindset in the last 60, 70 years has been, कि बच्चा पढ़ के नौकरी करेगा. The mindset is very difficult to change. And the game which Kumar has developed, it breaks that barrier. That's something great. I think we have limited time now. Let's ask the questions from the audience. Have you received any question, Shridha or Rutvij?
There were two I have replied online only, but they can still have.
Okay, I think the MC can come up with the questions which students had asked.
Sure, sir. Just a second. One of the question was, how has COVID impacted the working of your business? It was for Ms. Sheila Singh.
So it has impacted the business positively for all digital brands, I would say. I think there are multifaceted aspects to COVID coming in. I'll start with the most basic one, that is people. More than economical recession, I believe that there was psychological recession too. People wanted to be more conservative. And like Udyan pointed out, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the results are evident. Although we had a different situation in India, Udyan, it was a good one. So for all e-commerce players. But coming back, it was more a psychological recession, and people wanted to conserve for the rainy day. There were medical expenses to be met. However, if you were a brand who that had made its presence howsoever bleak, and there was some trust that you had already garnered, the journey became slightly smoother because you did not have to invest heavily in trying to reach out to masses because people were already online. So any which ways, you don't expect tier 4 or the bottommost layers of tier 3 cities to shop online. The people who had access to online devices, and they had the propensity to spend, and they had the right means and sources to spend, they spent. And also, I think from a brand perspective, apart from the revenues and numbers, which are a consequence of a number of factors playing along, from a brand perspective, we did realize that how that shaped out for us as a brand is that people wanted to get better quality products, and they wanted to get it at pocket friendly prices, which also conspired in our journey towards launching the Ayurveda company this year. The plan was to launch it last year, but we were engrossed in the hyper growth of Khadi Essentials. But we did take out the time to launch it because people wanted to. First of all, there was more acceptance towards Ayurveda, and secondly, pocket-friendly products. And I think third thing is that market is changing, especially in FMCG space. People are so well read. If you follow the numbers, the content consumption over the last 1.5 years, ever since COVID hit, has gone up by 75-78%. Do you understand what that number means globally? Imagine people are so well read. We were having a mini catch up with the customer support team yesterday, wherein so the team was telling me that nobody asks me कि ये product करता क्या या इसमें ingredients कौन से हैं, because they already know. So they tell us कि अच्छा इसमें ये ingredient है, so this would do this, that I know. You tell me where my order is. So the problems are no more related to awareness regarding the product, because we have a full disclosure policy. We tell whatever ingredients are there on the website itself, and so we do that for a lot of marketing purposes, search engine optimization, full disclosure, being very ethical in terms of our approach. But it feels so good to hear that the customer is actually reading everything. And trust you me, it is a 2,000-word article. It's a long content piece to be read. So that also changed during COVID, because you had, all of us know how the pace at which internet connections are increasing, number of handheld devices are increasing. In an emerging economy like India, there is more connectivity now, not just within India, within the states, but also globally. So all that led to an upsurge in the way people transacted in the online ecosystem. And that played in our favor, but it was not just one or two things. It was more at a psychological level, and it has brought about a change in the way people operate in general. And I think we can never go back to the BAU days that we were pre-COVID. This is the new normal, and the rage that has come in e-commerce or online, be it gaming, be it what Udyan is amazingly doing in the analytics and marketing space. I think that is the future. We can never go back to 2018, 2019 anymore.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Sridhi, for actually sharing your views on this issue. Let me share, before I come to then Bose again, I'd like to share one experience. You know, we were doing the Karma Yoga on the ground. That means students visited the nearby villages and they identified the problem. When the COVID came, we were actually quite hesitant. What will we do? Because a large number of students were actually taking classes from home, and they were spread all over the country. Almost in every state we had students, right from Karnataka to Madhya Pradesh to small villages, small towns also. But then we changed the whole strategy. Actually, in my opinion, the COVID came as a blessings. Instead of doing for a few schools, we ended up doing work for almost about 200 locations in all over the India. And secondly, the students had to do it independently of their own. Earlier, they were doing in a team of 5 or 10. So independently, when they did, they realized and did a much better work. So actually, in many areas, it can be blessing in disguise also. It happened in case of Kumar. Sridhar also benefited from this. We like to, because Udyan is already in this field, he's operating online all the time. We like to know from you, what are other issues? But before that, if there's any question, I think Akshita, you could ask them to make the discussion broad-based. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have a question coming up. So, sir, there is a question from a student that in such an uncertain situation like COVID, new entrepreneurs feel the fear of taking risks. So, how can someone overcome that fear of taking risk? I guess Udyan sir can take it up. Yeah.
Wow,
So Udyan, the ball is in your court now.
You're asking the wrong person, I know. About taking risks. So my question is, I think I really go by this interesting conversation, which I think has been much written about. Jeff Bezos, he was working at D. Shaw, right? And he was the favorite of David Shaw, who was the founder of the company. And essentially, David and Jeff sort of went out for a walk and so on in Central Park. And then Jeff mentioned that I really want to start this bookseller, online bookseller. Essentially, that's something in my mind and so on. And David Shaw said that, why don't you continue with this thing? Because that is something which should be started by something if you don't have a job, right? So, but you are doing extremely well in D. Shaw, so why leave? So at that point in time, I mean, Jeff sort of said that it was a very compelling proposition because I had a job, a well-paying job, and suddenly sort of getting in and so on. And his comment was that he said that 20 years later, I shouldn't really look back on this day and say that, oh gosh, had I taken this risk? Yeah. And I think that's what defines the entrepreneur versus the others, in my opinion, very well, right? I mean, there are so many people who get that opportunity. I think everyone gets the opportunity, right? Chance sabhi ko milta hai. So I think everyone gets the, but I think only a very, very small percentage, because I think Sridhar sort of mentioned it, we tend to overthink, right? So the way that he sort of, Jeff Bezos in this case, sort of addressed it, that if it does not happen, what would happen, right? He was from Princeton, he was whatever, 4.2 GPA. Essentially, he D short, tremendous. There would be companies lining up for hire him, right? But if he did not take this opportunity now, and maybe after 4 years, maybe someone else starts this, right? So the entire barrier becomes a lot higher. So there is never the right time. So he said that to just reduce this dissonance, I jumped in. So again, to answer the question, Ruthvij, essentially at some point in time, if you really, really feel very strong and passionate and just really, really focused on this thing, just jump in. What do you have to lose? Right? Getting a job, I think, is something which is the least of the problem for anyone as talented as all of you, right? I don't think that should be holding it, but just ask the question, if 20 years later, if you think back, you shouldn't say, oh gosh, had I really taken this chance, my life would have transformed probably by this time, right? At least kiya to say. As we say effectively, either you win or you learn, you never fail. So there is this entire concept of fail faster that in our company that we sort of embrace. So that's the answer, Rutvij. I don't know if that helps in any way.
I think very, very relevant answer then, rightly. Begin earlier. Because the moment you delay it for a very long time, let's say you reach in your 40s and 50s, your responsibilities become more, your risk-taking capability becomes less. But there are exceptions to this. I'll come back to Dr. Bala. He started his venture past 60 years and did it so beautifully. So there's no age. But I agree with you totally. Better to start early, fail early, and learn from it.
Yeah, there is never the right time almost. Like you sort of keep on waiting for the time. You have the only thing which I would say, and I really wanted to make it out. I know we are running out of time, Professor Bala. I really want to listen to Kumar and his question. But I think the only point which I really would want you to consider, I think there are two things. I mean, almost like a message. The first part, the only thing that is not in your favor is time. Because now we have spent about 51 minutes on this call, and those 51 minutes will never really come back, right? So if you really keep on waiting, that will sort of never come. The second part is, I very firmly feel, Professor Palhan, that every company has a very clear human face and a human responsibility. So don't build the company which is sort of solves your profit motives. I think you sort of started with that, Akshita, I think, statement, right? So I think there is a bigger purpose that you're trying to solve. So yeah.
Very good. I think we'll have time for one more question.
Yes, sir. There's one more question. It is by one of the students. What future do you foresee after COVID is over for startups and young businesses? I guess Mr. Kuvar Vijay Parman could take this question, please.
That was the right question for Udin, rather me. But anyhow, I'll try to just finish in one line. Since like what Shridha has also said, that you are never going back to 2018-19. And this is amazingly best time you can think of for startups, including what Palhan sir was saying, the policies, the infrastructure you have, the vibe in the environment, especially in India, co-working to events like this happening. There is no best time than this, and opportunities are amazing. And I think it's the best because it's empowered by technology. And the one thing which Palhan sir was saying, scalability is very crucial thing. That's why a startup today can create something which Tata's, Birlas were able to create in 100 years, or even not able to create in 100 years. You know, the kind of impact they have created. I think you are at the best time. So start today. As it's said that planting a tree, best time was yesterday, but another best time is today. So just put the seed, start going. I think all the best. That's my answer, sir. Over to you.
I think before taking any question, we'll have to have a parting comments from Shridha and Udin to the students, what they would like to convey in brief. We'll start with Shridha. Yeah.
I'll share a trick. I'll share a secret.
Why did you keep it so secret, so secret with you so far?
No, okay, it's an open secret. Yeah. But something that, so when you start something, there will always be risks. There will always be upsides and downsides. And if you want the cushion and comfort, then trust you me. I mean, not that you're not made for entrepreneurship, but then it will hit you worse than you would have imagined. I, for example, did not draw any salary for 1.5 years, and there are things that you couldn't have fathomed in the very first place. So, and there are things that nobody tells you because probably it's not in any book, not just academic, but outside of it also, because it's a very special and personal journey for everybody. Just like each of ours life in general. So the moment you start, I think Udian put it very beautifully when he quoted Jeff Bezos example, that so there is something called opportunity key cost, and then there is something called opportunity cost, right? So whenever the opportunity cost becomes higher than whatever opportunity you have in your hand, wo mat karo. So which means, let me put it that way, you're dating two guys or two girls, उसमें से एक को छोड़ने में ज्यादा दुख हो रहा है और दूसरे के साथ रहने में कम मजा आ रहा है, तो know that the person that you are probably who's not your first instinct, उसके पास चले जाओ. So you know, your heart tells you, your gut tells you, and it is okay if you go wrong. It's okay. You can always, you know, move forward, and it's a part of life. You were not born to make rightmost or most perfect decisions in the first go, which is why, and I remember that Punjabi quote now, वो सोचना होवे जो सोचे लाख बार, कि सोचने से कुछ नहीं होता, अगर लाख बार करोगे तो. So don't over analyze, कर लो, you can always come back and correct it. But remember this small maths, if the opportunity key cost is bigger than opportunity cost, then you need to analyze कि मुझे क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है, because your gumption tells you, your heart tells you. And I think all of us have more than average common sense. Entrepreneurship is a very basic principle of a lot of things, very simply done with a lot of common sense. जब कोई कर लेता है तो हमें लगता है यार इतना easy था, ये तो मैं भी कर लेती. तो question देखो, winners और losers के goal हमेशा same रहते हैं, but the only difference is आपने करा क्यों नहीं फिर, right?
Okay,
so,
then last word from your side.
Brother Palan, 1 minute. I'll take just a minute.
Yeah.
To say, Great Lake Institute of Management also as an organization now thought that what to do for the society. And we have done the first one on 17th of November, actually. We started a portal and we took advantage of this COVID period. We thought one day that why can't we develop research quality in the 2-tier and 3-tier cities of India? There are so many universities, they have not heard a good presentation, forget about doing good research. There are so many universities who have not heard a good speaker speaking to them, and they are doing cutting, pasting, and getting their PhD. So this Great Lake, and there are purposes beyond money, actually. This will not give us money. They will not give anything to the business school, where business comes first. But we have started in a humble way, and we am sure this institute will go a long way in inculcating research environment in the industry. Maybe the very few, the first one, we got about 40 or 50 of them, but I'm sure this will help us to reach to very, in the village level universities which have been created at this time in India. Maybe it is a brick and mortar, and about tomorrow it will be a online virtual university. But India needs platform which is not only their own, only for their institute. There were no platform in India, and I don't know whether globally there are any platform where research scholars from across the country can participate and hear, and also if they are good, the abstract, we ask for extended abstract. If the abstract is on their line, is good enough, they can present in front of very learned people. And if they are not accepted, they get a fantastic feedback on how to go out with their abstract for a paper. So what all the learned speakers telling us, that's true. There is something beyond money. There's something bigger thing which should drive us in being successful. And I can hear loud and clear from the great speakers. It was such a fascinating session that I had some work. I just parked for 1 minute. I said I'll come back again, and I came back again. But thank you so much for the lovely session. Sorry.
Actually, Dr. Sanyal is a highly in favor of entrepreneurship. He himself takes up a large number of risks and totally new things, and does it in a great way. That's what inspires other people also. I like to mention even our chairman, Mohan, another example of a really successful entrepreneur, especially in the Great Lakes he set up and the great learning which he did. A fantastic job for the first time. It grew from 2 employees to 1,700 today. and evaluation is so high. Almost unicorn born in about 6-7 years time. We have seen it right from the beginning, how it's come up. So Dr. Sanyal is very encouraging from that point of view to encourage entrepreneurship. And he does all the time. It's all the things that are possible on account of him. Thank you, Dr. Sanyal, for your.
Thank you. It's always my
And you stayed back.
Because I missed the bus, huh?
Thank you. I think probably it's time for we don't have another question answers.
Probably
the time is running out.
Drop
I
off,
think
Professor Palhan, I have another meeting, but I really want to thank all of you for this opportunity. Sridhar and Kumar, it was an absolute pleasure sort of listening to your stories. We'll be in touch. And my only request, sort of parting word to all the students who are here, I think one is you can make an impact in the world. The biggest thing that you really have to get in your mind is you have to start today. Right? Don't keep on waiting endlessly. I think you can make an impact, you can make a difference. That's the only thing. I wanted to leave everyone. It's like, I mean, effectively, I wanted to leave everyone with this link as well. So if you ask me, Dr. Sanyal, this is what we feel proud more than even starting Netlexer. And this is a link of those girls and her mother giving a presentation or just talking to our folks as well. When you get a chance, just take a look at it. But I have to jump off on my 9 a.m. meeting, which is running a 1 minute late. But
Sure. By the way, I was 8 years with NMIMS.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I was heading NMIMS for 8 years, and I was so fascinated to hear that. We'll be in touch.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you then. Now, who's going to wind up the meeting? Vote of thanks.
Thank you for a wonderful discussion, sir. I would now request Dr. VP Singh to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
It has indeed been a privilege to listen to the success stories and the journeys of all the three entrepreneurs that we have on the panel today. And this is fascinating indeed. And what Udayan mentioned, that after a few years, you should not say that, why didn't I start at that point of time? You know, that would be a too high an opportunity cost of missing out on an idea that you have today. Going through all these fascinating journeys, what I see is there is a common thread which talks about the power of observation, sensitivity towards a human cause, and the courage to apply and solve the problem, despite any kinds of odds that come across your way. We also see that the entrepreneurial success is not a function of backgrounds. The people from different backgrounds have come in and they have started something which their families or anyone, they had not even dreamt of. Okay. So this is a great learning, which I see, that why all these new ideas have come up is largely through the power of observation. Something which is very, very interesting and very high value, which Sridhar mentioned, is that paranoia of all problems may become overwhelming. So don't get bogged down by the amount of sheer weight of the problems which you may see for the future. So you may analyze and prioritize on those problems to some extent and go step by step. That would make the path of entrepreneurship much easier. Though we should not be looking at an easy path of entrepreneurship. The life itself is not easy. The moment we start getting some success, as the panelist mentioned, the consumer behavior itself changes. Every now and then consumer behavior will change and we'll have to come up with new ideas to succeed. This particular element, whether you derive excitement out of identifying a problem, when you come across a problem, do you get timid or you get excited to solve the problem? That will change, that will make the difference whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or not. If you are excited and if you are looking at ways to solve that, that is the seed of entrepreneurial journey that gets sowed on that day. And it is for sure that if the problem is big, the rewards will also be bigger. So it is a kind of life-changing experience. You are looking at problems as opportunities, and you are happy to come across problems because this is going to give you a prize, provided you are ready to apply. Amazing. And hats off to the learning that Kumar Vijay Parmarji has provided. Without any background of online, with a whole idea of offline business, and then we see that the problems come across, and then you apply, you bring into discipline and get into online business. This is amazing. This kind of a transformation, I'm sure you students, you are very lucky to hear about these things, and this should definitely boost your confidence that during your journey, any kind of problem comes, you don't get bogged down by that. You prepare and overcome those. So we hope that all the three panelists, all the three entrepreneurs, you keep infusing confidence among the young budding managers that we have at Great Lakes. And thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for providing this time. I would also like to thank my director, Professor S.K. Pallan, rest of the faculty, and all dear students to have contributed to this session. I would also like to thank through my heart all the IT people who have made this happen. Otherwise bringing all these resources together at one point would definitely have been a much bigger challenge. Thank you so much, everybody. And I hope and I wish a very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
With this, we come to the end of the entrepreneurship panel. It was indeed an exuberant experience. I'm sure that everyone has learned so much about entrepreneurship. We would like to remind you to join us for yet another insightful panel discussion on human resources and organizational behavior tomorrow, that is 2nd December at the same time, 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.